All right, let me adjust this real quick. Make sure we got this going properly. All right, now, thank you guys for joining us again for another one of these visual presentations of a project that we are seeking investment for. Now, I'm not sure how formal I need to be, whether you are an investor and all you know is that corporate jargon, or you are just an everyday person who is going to read this book or receive this product and then have your life kind of transformed into a way that is hopefully better than worse. So I'm just going to be myself, and hopefully that's something that you can receive from whatever position you're standing at. Before we get into this, I want to just let you guys know that I never wanted to be the I told you so guy, but we are very, very, very quickly, to my dismay, running down that path where I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot more. And instead of doing that and attempting to participate in the sensationalist media nature and in the like high anxiety state of communications, especially on digital spaces, I feel like the best thing that I can do, or the best way that I can contribute my intellect as from this point on to the collective consciousness, will be putting it into a book that people can, even if they aren't ready to receive now, they can take in little bits and pieces and add to the consciousness that they're already building on the topics that we're going to end up presenting in it. Again, I'll have a lot better explanation as we go throughout this presentation, but I want to make sure that you guys are prepared for me to get a little bit angry, especially towards the beginning, because I am somebody, as a neurodivergent person myself, the traditional neurotypical social game had always confused me because I didn't know that once you become an adult, or I guess this way your whole entire life, you're not saying how you really feel. You're just saying what you want other people to think that you feel, so you can get them to do what you want them to do. And that's how basically like all this like traditional culture works. And I actually believed in, whether it was the Obama presidency or it was like Democrats giving a fuck about black people. And I'm not saying this to say that I'm like some conservative. I'm so far from beyond that. But I believed in America for what America presented itself to young people. In a world where they threw 2001, 9/11 at us, they threw 2008 at us, didn't punish anybody for that. Then they go ahead and throw that fake end of the world in 2012. Maybe that doesn't apply. The Reagan election in 2016, we almost overthrow the government in 2021, and now the people that wanted retribution for not being allowed to properly overthrow the government in 2021 now have full-fledged legal access to destroying the entire country using that same federal government, because instead of busting in the back door, they've just been allowed to walk in through the front. So all of this in a world where they're telling us, like Gen Z people, put your head down and go to work and just like shut up, because this is not your concern. But this is our country to live in after all of these old leadheads end up passing away after their 20, 30, 40-year terms. When you start to realize that it's an old, and we can even take race out of it if you genuinely want to be honest about it, it is an old wealth cult. Old people wealth cult. Yes, they are tainted by the white supremacy and like Christian nationalism, but that's only aspects of the culture of these people. It is old, wealthy people. And as young people, as young, ambitious people, empathetic people, intelligent people, creative people, we will all be smashed beneath the foot of these old people who will literally only have 10 to 15 years max to enjoy the life that they so please, at the mercy of all of us being able to have a future. So I guess one of the things that's made it so difficult for me to even produce this product was really not seeing any other person in the space creating something like this. But not even to sound too cocky or to toot my own horn or anything, but I realized that maybe if I could be the first person that drops something like this, of this stature, especially in this day and age where we have people doing things like Streamer University and whatever other debauchery you're seeing right now, if I can show that it doesn't matter necessarily the age you are, the life experience that you have. The boomers love saying that, bro, to act like they have some sense of maturity above us young people. It's genuinely about how much you care, how much of yourself, your soul, your life you invest into those what you care about or that which you care about, and what you can produce on the other end of that energy, that relationship. And as much as I critique the American country, as much as I critique American politics and the people who are in power, the only reason why I do it is because I care. If I didn't care about this country, I would allow what is happening right now to continue to happen and not say anything. But 2024 is when we dropped the lecture series for this book. Because at first I wanted to put a book out, but then I said, well, Donald Trump's already president, so we might as well put a lecture series out and just hope these guys listen to it. Because now, instead of, because I'm not putting pictures in a book, at least I'm reading it to you and explaining everything in a lecture series, word by word by word, by line, by concept, by idea. And of course, like I'm get shoved in the algorithm, and attention spans are so fucked, nobody's gonna read that or listen to that. It's uh, I'm hoping more of us that care can stop being exploited from this like almost like political involvement as like, well, you just have to fight against the system and just like punch back at it after it's just like absolutely curb stomped you to the floor. Like, what if we can contribute new types of philosophy, new types of conversation, new types of theory that could actually create opportunities for us, you know, those of us who are not being served by this American system at all? It's I, I, we're gonna get into more depth into what I'm saying here, but hopefully you guys understand the the urgency of this book and the value that it could provide, and not necessarily being the only pillar in this space or the only book in this space of value, but to inspire others to realize that through what they've gone through and what they care about and what they genuinely set their mind to, that it is possible to create high value product, if you even want to call it that. I hate saying that. That can help people transform the circumstances that they're going through or the limitations that they're placing on their own lives. And in doing that for one another, sharing that, just giving a helping hand to one another, even if it's just our own immediate circle, and allowing them to share with their circle and them to share with their friends and to connect with these people and to post here, then we can all help each other in a grand mass, like macro scale, without having to overextend ourselves beyond what we can actually control and address in our immediate reality. But I've realized that maybe a little bit of it was like imposter syndrome as to why I didn't release this. And then also just getting absolutely shit on by my whole entire family because I'm a black sheep of a narcissistic cult, damn near. So a lot of this is it, I've had to get, I think I've realized I have to get so angry to a point where it's just, regardless if this is as successful as I believe it has the potential to be, or if it fails and flops and nobody cares about listening and reading it, I just have to be the person that puts it out there and contributes this to the culture. And the reason why we're having this little conversation here, the fundraiser, is a means of asking you guys to contribute along that journey so we can do this as seamlessly as possible. And then allowing you guys to get little extra perks for being involved in that process. I know that was already hefty. And this might be even some of the reason as to why I procrastinate so much into making these, or even making this specifically. Not only for like fear of just like putting myself out there and being like financially vulnerable, but strictly for knowing that like I have to represent this now. And that'll make more sense as we get into this. But other than that, hopefully you guys are ready for this. This is okay. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. And at the end of this, actually, I'm not sure if I'll do it at the end. Maybe if we have time, we probably won't though, because again, attention spans are just all fried. But what I have an intention of doing is not making No Land for Good Men, this book, and Creative Conscious, the platform, separate. I've realized that not only am I the entrepreneur, the architect of the infrastructure for the Creative Conscious, but I am an artist myself as well. And I'm not only freeing myself from capitalism to be just like a slop or a sloth whatever you want to call it. Like I want freedom so I can continue to create on my own leisure, to express myself, to connect with who I care about, and to be a part of the culture that I feel I value and that reciprocates to me, especially if I don't feel like it's doing that actively, like this American system. So I realized the best way and even a better way to compete with my competitors in the space of this digital communications networking space, the creator economy space, the best way to compete is to show you guys, hey, all these like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all of them, they use their platforms, if they use them at all, for selfish or branding reasons. They don't even use them to actually engage with or to show, hey, from the president CEO of this company to the lowest rung person, like just a general user of this platform, everybody can contribute to and create some kind of value within this thing and share that to impact the world around you. So I've realized the best way for me to compete in a way that investors don't understand truly what my product is in like a developed sense is show you guys how I would use my platform and how I will take all of my projects and how disorganized my creative brand is in this old Web 2 lifestyle, and then how I'm going to funnel that through my platform and then best centralize who I am on a complex creative process as I'm constantly growing and assuming new roles and allowing people to be a part of that journey rather than creating an identity and then trying to fill it up with a bunch of content and like idea or strategy to get people to like buy things from me through that identity. Like I'm some kind of superhero, which I have to take the mask off at the end of the day, rather than I am human being and you are supporting me, human being, wearing this mask, playing this role, singing this song, writing this book, being this person. And you choose whether or not you want to be on that journey, but subscribing to me allows you access to all the benefits that come with me being on that journey, whether I win or fail. And I think that's going to be way better for creatives than traditional social media, because traditional social media almost wants your life to be more aesthetic than it is real. And the creative lifestyle only is genuine and is able to resonate at a deep level with human beings when you are being real and you aren't ashamed of the realness that it takes to create real deep art. But that will come after I get this book out of the way, which is interesting too. A little final note before we get into this. I actually, when I was going to school, before I dropped the fuck out of that shit, I was actually going to be a psychologist. Well, first I was going in there for business administration, and then I realized that if you're actually a good business person, you don't go to school for business. You run a business. And then I stopped doing that. And then I was going to go back and transfer, like change my major to psychology until I saw how horribly paid these people are and how shit the schedule is. And how a lot of these people are just mentally ill in there. They're just a little less mentally ill than other people. So they're better at identifying and like showing accommodation. Um, and even worse, I guess even not even worse, but again, no money and no freedom, especially when you have an identity in like a traditional corporate sense in America. You really can't have an identity. And I would never be able to be the billionaire bastard rock star lifestyle animal that I have to live on the other side of my success. Wasn't going to limit myself like that for no amount of time at all. So I decided that I was going to write this bombshell book, drop it, probably get deuced out of America. But if I don't, then just literally go and run my business until the God calls me, or the universe, the ancestors call me to do something else. But it's difficult being in the position that I'm in, not even for an imposter syndrome sense, but just like realizing how much I've had the capacity to do and the potential to do, but how much I'm just struggling against not even being this, whether it's creative, an entrepreneur, a thought leader. Like that's what's easy to me. It's being a human under this stage of capitalism and this stage of like collective cognitive dissonance that is absolutely railing me every single day. And I'm confused as to like, not even trying to be cocky or nothing, but like, if you see that I can do this stuff over here, if I just have like the bare minimum support, why are you making me go through all these hoops and hurdles and obstacles just to access that, which would, if I had the support, would allow me to do all these things? But it's being a black sheep, and then not only your family shitting on you, but them turning to other family members and wanting to blame you for their problems, and then also call you crazy for not wanting to put up with their disrespect and abuse. It's It's not being able to make relationships because you were isolated as a kid because your parents had no friends. It's all this extra shit. And again, at times I thought were like excuses, and I couldn't tell people, or I couldn't show like, hey, tell people, hey, my life's been hard, bro. So I do need a little extra help. I do need a little support. And I'm glad that I've been able to write this book in the midst of all of that because it has shown me how much help not only I need, but the world needs to be in a position to actually do what we can do, not only for ourselves, but for each other. Because that's the only way any of this shit's gonna work. It doesn't fucking matter. AI slaves, AI agents. Human beings are supposed to be here to take care of the earth and to take care of each other. And the second we break that for any type of psychosis or any type of materialism, that's when we've lost this shit. So I think it's a good time we get into this, huh? Also, actually, a little final note before we get into this. You may see me speaking less and less about my like Patreon and like clothing brand, not because they're any of less value, but because I've realized that I've still been shrinking myself in a box to say, you know what, let me just try to get enough money to like exist, and then let me just hide in this little shell of being a content creator versus recognizing, oh, I'm leveraging this little personal media opportunity to launch me into being able to be this professional, credible writer, and then not even just a writer, but an entrepreneur as well. And from there, I'm not going to need to be asking for brand deals or anything. I'm going to be the one giving you guys brand deals to promote my shit. I'm going to be that freaking nasty oligarchical billionaire, bro, that you guys have to call on a secret phone to lobby your politicians. All right, let's get into this. I'm talking too much. All right, now let's get into this. Let's get into this. I want to thank you guys for being here again. I know we're in the same exact video and you probably haven't clicked off. It's only been like 15 minutes. But I want to thank you guys for genuinely taking the time out of your day to say, you know what? Let me give this a listen. Because this psychopath crazy dude has been right a couple more times than he's been wrong. So if I give him a chance right here to explain to me why he needs some manyan for some fanyan, then maybe we're going to understand how this world works a little bit. And not even that, I actually think that one of the best parts about me being able to do this, free from like the shame and whatnot, but one of the best parts about me being able to do this is showing you guys that just like going to school, this is a creative investment. Your favorite artists and celebrities, let's just talk about rappers and singers. Most of these people don't have no money, bro. They have brands that are marketing them. We've spoken about this in the Creative Conscious proposal, but they have brands that are marketing them. These are, if you really want to think about it, a lot of these record labels are just creative banks that are gambling on artist careers, artist futures, if you want to call it that. Literally one of the most diabolical, for lack of better term, until I figure another one out, delusional, maybe that's the better word, forms of gambling ever, because you know nothing about the future of this person, and you don't even genuinely know how their past inspired them to be who they are now, and if that's just a phase, a trend, or it's actually who they are and they have potential to be way more than that. I want you guys to see that we, even though many of us are, whether it's minimum wage workers, people who are unemployed or disabled, and we don't understand how to navigate or how to exchange big sums of money, we shouldn't fear wealth. We shouldn't fear abundance. We have to realize that it's not the money that we're looking for. It is the energy that comes on the other end of that. I know I'm going to go off sounding like one of those little spiritual abundance gurus, but remember this right here. If we're looking at money as a vehicle, money as a vehicle for energy, and that energy allows access to create opportunity, to access resource, to open up doors that aren't of access beforehand. Again, I guess I'm just repeating myself. Then you have to see that we don't have to focus on how many dollars are in my bank account. We have to focus on how many dollars we need to do the things that we need to do at the best level that we can, so we can make sure that we're producing a product that can be shared and of value. Because if we do it right and we set the systems right, we will be compensated properly for doing great work. Even better than if we ask for a bunch of money that we don't know what we're going to do with, and then we don't end up doing any work at all. Even worse, low quality work. So understand that your no matter what happens, especially in this adult stage of your life, if that's what you are, everything is an investment. And if not an investment, it's a gamble on what you think you're supposed to do or what you have the potential to do. And I hope that we can look at this as my college debt. This is the debt that I'm taking out on my academic career. And hopefully the return that this gives on society is infinitely more than the cost it takes to invest in making sure this project can get done properly. And the best part about this is like I'm an entrepreneur, and I realized that I would never genuinely be able to be an entrepreneur if I was afraid of asking for money. Like my parents done destroyed me, financial trauma at the max, making me think that basic needs were like being spoiled and like expensive, like crazy shit. So I've had to realize that when you believe in a project, and I believe in this project with everything that I am, it requires some investment. I know I've been bouncing around the point a lot, talking about record labels and whatnot, but great projects require deep investment so they can come out and be everything that they need to be. A little side note, because we're just going everywhere now. There's a clip of Dame Dash saying, the CEO, co-founder of Rockefeller, that thing that Jay-Z's on. And he's saying that as a president or an executive, your job is to keep the artist paid. Not necessarily because they just need to be rich and they need that to be a part of their identity, but it's so they can be as creative as possible. And you need resource to do that. You need funding, you need backing, you need support. And where I'm going to wrap all of that around is saying that we expect poor people, impoverished people, to be able to make life changing decisions or to pursue life changing opportunities with no funding, no backing, no support. And then we expect them to do them at the same quality, if not better quality, than people who do have accommodations or resources to leverage. Remember that. Don't expect any more from somebody than you're willing to give them the opportunity to genuinely do. And when you start looking at it from that lens, let's just get into it. No, let's not get into it. I have one more thing I want to say about this fundraising shit. Maybe this is me healing my own little financial trauma while we're doing this. Cool. Final thing I have to say as to why I'm even why I'm even in this predicament, other than the fact that like we need to get this project out. And I also need to like get up off like the somebody couch and like get in my own shit so I can like run this in my own place. If we're gonna raise $1 million for that racist chick to call that little autistic boy the N word, if we're gonna raise $1 million, this may sound like gaslighting. I apologize. There's no way in hell we can't raise 25 bands for this book. There's no way in hell. That's me being not facetious. That's me being honest. Let's not think necessarily about the investment. Let's think about the impact. Because imagine that lady gets $1 million because she said the N word. But what is she going to do with that? Like the money was given to her based on her basically being a marker of allowance for people to remind the world the state of our American culture. That's not consistent. That's not going to last. That's not going to impact anybody other than just make racists feel at home again or safe again in a world where they've been ostracized for being ignorant and anti-human. That $1 million will go away in a year. I believe this No Land for Good man has an opportunity to last lifetimes. And hopefully through this, that's something that you'll grow to believe as well. This is it. Again, I won't read too much of just word for word of this. I'll just make sure I give my synopsis because I understand that we have intellectual people here and I know you guys can read and I don't want to waste too much of your time. I want you to spend all of your time reading my book. This is my attempt to literal blindfold bullseye in the dark pinpoint accuracy the issue that men are facing in this world, how it relates on an existential level and just a purely environmental level, and how the entire world will be at the mercy of who is willing to genuinely not just serve these men who need accommodation and help, but who can get them to realize that we as men need to be part of global communities of more than just other men, but of women, of non-male presenting people, whether it's non-binaries, it's gays, it's queers. We need to be willing to be a part of a community and allow the servitude that we naturally have in us, the ability to serve and build and create in a physical sense. We need that to be able to serve the entire community, not just men. The second we grow into that mindset, we can start literally decentralizing ourselves into the communities that love us, that care for us, that allow us to be seen and heard in the ways that the traditional patriarchal hierarchy doesn't allow us to feel. And I'm begging. I've made this claim on my TikTok. Crazy. I know I have one of those. I made this claim that the male loneliness crisis is being perpetuated by a basically a big brother dude who puts a fish tank of ignorance on little brother's head and says, and little brother is suffocating in there. But little brother, because of what's in the fish tank, thinks that it's all these other people, the black kid, the girl, the gay kid, that are the reason why he's suffocating and he's suffering. But it's not that. It's because of the fish tank, the virtual reality orb that was put on this person's head. And that is the reason why they are suffering. And until they take the fish tank off to see who is genuinely manipulating them out of their fear and out of their anxiety and turn to join us in making sure that that person can't manipulate and exploit and lie to anybody else again, we might self-destruct this whole experience and blow it up for everybody. Because mind you, the people who put the fish tank on little brother's head don't take accountability for anything. That's why they have to triangulate us in a very narcissistic fashion. These people are the ones who are responsible for your pain, and these people are the ones who you need to get retaliation against, and they make it a lateral culture war instead of making it a top versus bottom. These people have everything, and we don't have anything. And there's a whole lot less of them than there are of us. I'm not trying to incite anything by saying that, but understand this is this is a for lack of better terms, and I'm going to say that a lot because I'm definitely getting my vocabulary up. This is a spiritual disease. And I don't mean to say that in the sense that we're referencing or we're lining ourselves up with religious doctrine. I'm saying that to say that this is an energetic, deeply internal issue that punishes the external world when not addressed and held accountable internally. And I'm hoping this gives the entire world, those who are men and who can benefit from this in that way, and those who aren't and can benefit from this in a world where they have to exist with other men, can all participate in this conversation as to what it genuinely takes to allow us to be the fullness of who we are, but to still create enough room for others to be themselves as well without anybody feeling claustrophobic. A final note here. I want this to be. I don't know how to. I wish I could be a better video editor than this. But in this little box that I have right here, I'm going to show you. I feel like we are approaching this black hole. And in a very animated sense, if this is the black hole right here, and we are the human being right here, and we're just slowly approaching it, the closer and closer and closer we get to this black hole, the more distorted the visual of our body gets. And instead of just being like an actual human being out here, the sucking in of the power of the orbit of the attraction of the black hole is just folding our body and almost distorting the matter of our body into this. Hopefully that was a good enough description for you guys because I want this book that we're writing here to be a stake in what we know as reality before we truly get sucked into this black hole that we may or may not ever come back out of because of the destruction that's happening to such a grand percentage of general human beings, the absolute erasure of the middle class, the destruction internally of the federal government, meaning that not only will you have to replace all the people in there to fix it, but you actually now have to destroy the federal government to fix it because there's too many broken systems in there for anybody to be able to operate other than the people who actually broke them. Very directly related to what happened in 2008. None of the bankers got punished, not only because we couldn't use fraud in those little Senate hearings, but because, forgive me, I almost lost it. But because they said, well, if you fire all of us and you send us all to federal prison, who's going to run all of these accounts? And they all got off scot free for parlaying the American people into ridiculous amounts of debt and foreclosure. It's all about positioning. So understand, this is all I got. I do not want to sit here arguing, making hit pieces on other content creators. I don't want to sit here even engaging in this idiotic debate bro content. Idiotic debate bro shit. Like the worst part, just like the same way I speak about nonprofits basically just perpetuating the issues that they claim to be saving in the creative conscious proposal that we just released before this one is debate bros exist for the sake of playing devil's advocate just to perpetuate issues that will never get solved because they think that they get more out of getting like the almost drug like hits from being able to prove somebody wrong or destroy somebody's argument rather than actually humble themselves enough to see how they can complement with their intelligence to actually getting to a solution because then nobody has to argue, we can just mind our own business. But you remember, they're just not content enough to just be somebody other than a contrarian, other than because they know when life is normal, they're normal too. Nobody cares about them. They're just another person, another cog in the machine, and they've realized if they pull this contrarian bullshit off, oh, now they're somebody. Now they represent intellectualism and logic. No, you don't, bro. You're still dumb. You just don't know how to stop arguing, bro, in some like masculinized catfighting type BS, bro. And I hope that you argue with people who are AI bots after this. Genuinely. I hope that you spend your whole entire life arguing with AI bots so the rest of us human beings can connect with each other on platforms like Creative Conscious to where we don't have to engage with that type of AI nonsense and replacer again. Hopefully replacer is a word or erasure. Why is this important now? Well, you tell me. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. Whether you want to talk about the active, it's not even a war. You understand what we're talking about. This is a genocide going on. Whether you want to speak about the genocide that's happening, whether you want to speak about the digital psychosis that we're in, not being addressed, and the schizophrenia, socialized schizophrenia that we're being sent into, whether it's the betrayal, not only from boomers, but the betrayal from a federal government to protect us from actual NAZIs entering the government and destroying everything. I, the amount of nihilism that is about to just sweep the masses, almost like just ghouls that are going sucking the souls out of people, leaving them lifeless automatons that just don't do anything. If we can't accept how bad that's going to get and how that's not, it's not only bad that that's happening, it's what that has the potential to affect beyond itself until it's done happening. We are setting ourselves up for it, like irreversible damage. And it's all happening at the same time, so it can just all be recouped by what? Oh, this all this shitty shit happening must mean that Jesus is coming to save us in a year or next year or sometime in the future that's never going to happen. This is all leading to another forced religious resurgence. I'm telling you right now, it will. You guys might not want to accept that, but it's okay because these are the conversations that we have on this side of the internet. The point of this is to offer everybody, again, we discussed this in the last slide, offer everybody a chance, whether you are a man seeking healing and growth beyond patriarchy, or you're somebody who has to live in a world where patriarchy is present and alive, parasiting off what could be culture. This is an opportunity to position yourself in a way that allows you to contribute to whatever world you want to be a part of, patriarchal or anti patriarchal, but knowing that you have a position and a role to play in it. I was inspired by my own upbringing. My own, and again, I hate to be blunt. I hate to be blunt, but I'm on the other side of, and again, I'm like, we weren't, my dad and his family, they weren't like super wealthy or anything. They were in Africa, grew up in Africa in the 50s, 60s. They weren't super wealthy or anything, but my dad had access to every privilege that you could want, whether it's community. His parents paid for school and having a network, like a peer network of siblings that will support you, even if you have absolutely no friends, because everyone hates you because you're a narcissistic sack of shit who doesn't accomplish anything on your own. My dad was fortunate to have a privilege of a world that was still affected by patriarchy, but showed so much more accommodation and assistance that existed outside of patriarchal control. So even if the patriarch fell or the patriarch had passed or wasn't there, there was still the other accommodations that weren't appreciated by traditional society, but held the family together and really helped the soul, the conscious individual person, maintain sanity. But because my dad was unable to appreciate that, whether it was for himself or it was for to appreciate that beyond himself and actually care for his family, the rest of us, my family included, became a consequence of his failure of patriarchy. And even worse than that, him being able to listen to these absolute idiots, the first generation Andrew Tates, the Rush Limbaughs, and the Fox News early days guys. And mind you, my dad's a black dude who like didn't work a full time job and was sitting here basically damn near mooching off the rest of us. Like he was able to sit there, be a failure of patriarchy and not take accountability for it. And then on top of that, project that responsibility out onto a world around him that he believed was punishing him, but it wasn't punishing him for anything other than him not being the person that you need to be eligible to access reality as a grown fucking man. So then now me as a person has to deal with not having a role model that lives inside the house. I have to deal with being like literally the person like my dad trying to like argue and shit on me like he's my little brother. But then having to punish me and remind me like, oh, you're just like an idiot kid who doesn't know anything. You need to know your role in this house. Like the inspiration from this is not coming from a place of purity or a place of health and growth. Like this has come from I got punished for everything that this dude never did. The child got punished for everything that the adult never did. I'm the one who gets slandered. I'm the one who gets kicked out and thrown into a world that's already actively being destroyed by social media because I'm not able to freaking up to put up with disrespect. I'm not able to put up with how come you guys are allowing this dude to be a degenerate and I'm the one that's supposed to be perfect. So it's me recognizing like I don't even as the person that I am, like I don't even need to get revenge or to get to let spite lead me in the way or to keep me alive on this journey. I just need to get all of those accommodations and resources that you are denying me of because you are a failure of this patriarchal system and you failed to get back the provisions that you're supposed to provide your damn family to be an actual stand-up guy in this society. Because if I had access to the resources, yes, I would have appreciated you. But if they didn't come from you, then I would have just appreciated whoever gave me the resources until I could provide them for myself. And that's what I've realized that a lot of us are going to have to be in that position. Most people, if not a lot of people's dads, are failures of patriarchy. And when you can't have a world, whether it's a job or a reality or some kind of identity that you can express that through and feel power and validation through, you turn that around on the people closest to you and abuse them to hell. And that is half the reason why that inspired this book, and the other half of the reason is the old boys club that is actively destroying the entire world that we live in for the sake of wanting to feel like how they think their forefathers felt in the 50s and the 60s, or a couple of generations before that, before, like Jim Crow and shit. Not realizing that all of that is just like racist propaganda. to get us to go back to a time when so many people are so dehumanized, where that is the value of that society. It is not that, oh, you can get jobs and housing in this. The value is that it's allowed to hang black people on trees, and it's allowed to like assault women and them to get not get medical care afterwards. All of this. And then even worse than that, the people who go online and manipulate people with their intellect, with their false empathy, into thinking that, well, I'm just here to help people, and I'm just here to okay, even this is the worst. And I know some people even gone to call me this on platforms, but I realized that it comes from a position of being insecure in your own intellect and not knowing how expansive mine is. So I'll take the false claiming. But these it's we've gotten to a time where people are just the world is just so traumatizing. People are at the mercy of what they believe, and more times than not, a person who is presenting or performing empathy or performing that they care in this pandering like sense, especially like a man pandering directly to women, acting like I'm the male whisperer, I'm like the man who can tell women everything about guys, and just like you never have to worry about me. Like those are the guys who end up destroying the relationships that have the potential to be built, because they are so like narcissistically craving these types of relationships and don't know any other way to get them from women other than manipulating them into being in a relationship with them. It's literally the same type of philosophy that the first like romantics used to get access to women, because they were so poor they had no access to money or anything. So literally the only way you could get access to a woman was by respecting her. And then they turned that into a thing called chivalry, because everybody else just it was literally just rampant like prostitution, if you even want to call it that. It was just all like buying and selling. And then other than that, like men offering up their daughters to like the king and like the royal court. Yeah. what makes this what makes this book different? Please go tell me, by the time we finish going into what I'm going to describe in this book, please tell me that there is anything that you've ever seen like this book that analyzes these concepts and connects them in such a way like this. Just let me know if there is. And if there is, then I don't care, because I'm not going to stop writing this, because I understand that there's nobody that's going to tell it like I tell it. And if you have, let me find out what that book is, because I will definitely read it before I finish writing this. Okay, now let me drink some water before I get into this, because I'm about to go fire breath on everybody. This lady will never be president in the United States. This dude is using her to get access to the young populace that is right to not believe in him anymore, because he lied about 2016, and he also lied to he's basically just a liar to shill votes to the Democratic Party after convincing you that like he's gonna run on all of these like crazy ideals that he's gonna say that he doesn't actually believe in. He's using her as a clown, like puppet, basically, to get all the voters that he can't directly have access to. And this type of shit is actually way worse than you even think. All of American politics and American media, they will sit on the truth so they can wait for the right time to expose somebody and drop a book on them. That's the only reason why this book is a bestseller, instead of this Jake Tapper recognizing that the whole Democratic Party knew that Joe Biden was having terminal issue, some kind of chronic issue that he wasn't addressing. And he said, you know what? Let me find out a time in history where we're already fucked. Like, we're already screwed, bro. Donald Trump is already president. There's no reverting, going back, or any of that. Everybody knew that Joe Biden had this terminal disease, and nobody said anything, and you were actually going to run this dude. You have to sit here and look at this. They were actually going to run this guy. And the person who knew, forget the person who knew, everybody who knew held that back, with any authority held that back. Young people were even saying, remove this dude. And this guy said no. And they're saying, we don't know how to talk Biden out of it. We don't know how to talk Biden out of it. You don't know how to talk an old dude with a terminal illness out of being the president of a country at a time where the people knocking on the people knocking on the door are somewhat resemblant of 1930s Germany. Like, that's the opposition, not just some racist neighbor from down the street. An actual NAZI is the opposition, and we don't know how to address that because we are unable to address, hey, you know what? Maybe we should let the American people know that we're actually going to run a dead man walking. But I'm not going to tell anybody because I'm going to wait until I can release a book, and then that book becomes a bestseller. And then everybody in society knows me as a best-selling author, not because I actually cared about society and including information publicly when it mattered, but because I cared about being a best-selling author myself for my own resume, because I'm a loser. And it doesn't even matter what I tell people on mainstream media, whether it's CNN or NBC or Fox News, because I'm paid to say everything. Like, this is all a joke. American politics is purely performance. And as much as, again, I am not on the conservative side at all, but the only reason that I appreciate what Donald Trump is doing in government is showing you that the whole thing is fake. Forget Doge, bro. Forget Doge. Donald Trump administration should show you that you can literally just pick and choose who you want, regardless of an interview. You can go in there, destroy the entire government, and turn it to bend at your will if you want to. None of this is real. We are all following rules and going under certification tests that don't matter, bro, because at the end of the day, if you're the right person, you can destroy it all and still not take accountability for it. And you know what's even crazier about this little situation right here, this whole fighting oligarchy situation, is which I hope you guys give up on Bernie Sanders completely after this, because he gets on a show, which this is what all these like establishment Democrats are doing. Instead of actually addressing the people like that they lied to for months, if not years, which are like Gen Z voters and whatnot, they go to conservatives and they say, you know what, we just got to convince conservatives that Trump is a bad guy and that rich people are bad, as if there's not like billionaires on the Democratic Party as well, trying to like clean their own image, whatever. He goes there and he says, well, the Democratic Party failed when they started to act like, well, you're black, so you're amazing, and you're gay, so you deserve all the rights in the world. Like, again, I'm not saying word for word what he said, but if you have more than two brain cells in your head, and hopefully they speak to each other, if you have more than two brain cells in your head, and you heard this dude finally get off what he really wanted to say, we're telling black people that they matter and giving marginalized people voices to tell us what they genuinely want to see, rather than us being able to represent them and absolutely not do anything because it's just a means of getting votes to put ourselves in power again. And to do this little soft fascism that is actively being exploited upon or exploded by the other side now, who isn't afraid of being canceled by their own audience. Like, I don't, this is sick, bro. And this is even another reason why I built the Creative Conscious platform, because how sad is that? Like, our media, not only is mainstream media totally sensationalist, and it's been that, but we from the mainstream media, the journalists, the writers, the authors, have to hold back books on purpose because they're chasing bestseller and credibility status instead of actually changing the culture and saying things when they matter. Because you know what happens if this guy, little Jake Tapper, if he goes and says what this when he finds it out, instead of, oh, it's just a rumor, I can't say anything, maybe it would have made a lot more sense as to why they just they ran an abysmal campaign for Kamala Harris. It's almost like they wanted the world to blame Kamala Harris and Gen Z for her being the lady with all the identities, And they wanted you to blame her for being a failure, blame her for not having access to authority or for doing what she's supposed to do. You threw her on Front Street like a fish out of water with nothing. Threw her ass on Front Street. And you were actually going to defend to the gills Biden, who you knew had terminal illness. And you didn't do anything for this black woman who you knew was going to get terrorized, bro, by the American public. Like, don't. Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, thank God you're out of there. This dude, Bernie Sanders, every single one of you. If you're over the age of 40 years old in government, go ahead and just wrap that shit up, bro. I don't care what you have to say. Yes, I said that. If you're over the age of 40, your opinion does not matter anymore. Because you know what's even worse? The final thing I'm going to say before I get into the rest of this book, the reason why it's so difficult to have real new faces in the Democratic Party, it's not because young people are not intelligent. It's because there's a whole laundry wait list of old people who feel like they've waited their turn to have access to power, just like the person who was running against AOC in that one primary or that one election. They've been waiting so long for power, they feel like they deserve access to it just because more than somebody who's actually young, living through these circumstances, can connect to young people and actually get them to believe in something. But I'm the crazy one, right? I'm the one who called out, like 3 months before the election, I said, this almost seems like you're throwing away the election on purpose. And then you're going to blame not only black women, but you're going to blame black people for not voting for that black woman. So you can blame black people again for not voting for you enough. 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump. 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump. And don't even get me onto the statistics of the other demographics who voted for Donald Trump. And then now everyone wants to come and blame black people again. It's almost like that's a fetish in this country. Now, who am I? Who am I to be saying any of this? Obviously, a nobody. And I don't want you guys to know who I am because you know exactly what happened to Fred Hampton when he started giving a fuck about you guys. I don't want to toot my horn. Toot my horn. I don't want to toot my horn too much, of course, because I understand you guys just confidence is not a thing, especially when it's black boys. Like Shadir Sanders is confident, and you guys call him cocky, you call him arrogant, and all that shit. So I could only imagine what you're gonna call me, even with the success and the depth of intellect that we're showcasing over here. I don't even want to know what you're gonna call me, bro. Maybe just. But just a little background on me, which is pretty dope because this is a complete resume that I've been building and creating on the other side of having my whole entire life absolutely sabotaged by my parents. And then by my subsequently by the family outside of that they also triangulated with to slander me and to rip the rug out from under my feet and deprive me of opportunity. So in making sure that I didn't crash out as a means of getting revenge, and I said, you know what, let me build something, create something of value to get my retribution. I decided that I was going to make that No Land for Good Men series. And it's a 15-hour lecture series that dropped on Christmas of last year. And sad to say, almost just as quickly as Project 2025 has been escalating or has been being completed, dude, almost 30%, maybe two sections of that, two or three of those sections of that lecture series have already come true. And now I'm at that point where I'm realizing, you know what? I need to stop like working this like minimum wage job that's like destroying, like depriving me of energy, not allowing me to live in my own place and to regulate myself. Like I need to chill on this capitalist overload grind and then getting actually beat down for like childhood trauma and all that. And I need to get some funding, put myself in a position to where I can get 6 months, 12 months maybe, and flip this thing around. Because there's a whole lot more than just that lecture series and just this book and just Creative Conscious. But I had to get right with myself and say, you know what, I got to be vulnerable enough to ask not just my people, but the world, whoever is out there that sees this, like, hey, the creator needs investment, the business and the projects need funding, and I guarantee you I'll return everything even more than what you invested in and what I'm doing here. But I'm willing to go on that journey now. Debt was something that I was so afraid of because as somebody who's autistic and burns out a lot, bro, from like traditional jobs and can really is very difficult to hold a job for me. It's like I never wanted to get in so much debt to where I'd have to work so many years and so much time and for so many hours that I know I didn't have the energy to do. It already takes me so much energy just to muster up, just to show up to a job, to just get chump change every day anyway. It's like, dude, I can't do that. I have to be a leader of my people, bro, and I have to get money some other kind of way, bro, so I can be this person fully without the drainage of a traditional job where I'm getting disrespected all day or literally just still not even getting enough money to provide for myself how I need to do these things because this is what I came to this earth to do, not be a wage slave. But on top of that, I'm the founder of Dark Wizards Dungeon, the founder and sole creator of the Dark Wizards Dungeon. I'll take credit for that. I'm the creator of the Billionaire Bastards LLC and something that's still being built in the future, but will be a back end project of that Billionaire Bastards LLC, the Eternal Melanin Oasis Investment Group. That'll be our more globalized fund. And I'll explain that as we get further onto that in a place to where I'm not just speaking publicly because those are conversations that can't be had for everybody. Those are conversations that are just meant for the people that are participating. The credibility is the experience that I have. It is not the school that I went to for the short period of time or the relationship that I've been in necessarily or the surface level aesthetics of my life. It is the life that I've actually had to live and the decisions I've had to make and the knowledge that has come from that. So hopefully with that, and then also the hefty amount of research that I like to do on anything that I create for myself, hopefully you guys can understand that there's real value behind this type of shit that we're working on here. Who is this for? You. We've already discussed who this is for in a broad sense, everybody. But to be more specific, these are a handful of descriptions of more niche individuals or people that feel like they could make some value or create some kind of complementary value on the other end of consuming this book. I want this to be more than just a book that people use, especially or just like or use as a to heal necessarily, or just to say, oh, that's a great book, or so and so somebody that I know wrote a book. I want this to be something that lasts generations and allows us to see this is the state of our reality right now. And anybody can reference this from any time, whether it's coming from the past into the future or it's from the future looking back at the past. Anybody can see this as a pivotal claim, series of concepts and philosophies of understandings truly of the current state of reality and what has the potential to happen if we don't address it in the most clear and direct sense, because this is just a purely nonfiction book. I'm not writing a 1984 because I think the only way that an issue a 1984 the only way 1984 fails is when ignorant idiot people are able to control society and there is no appreciation for depth, for reading between the lines, for being able to understand concepts that exist beyond the surface. So I have to just leave everything on the surface and hope that you guys do what you can with it while we can, so we don't end up going where the book ends up taking us. Let's get into the book. On the road, yeah, I be gone every day. All right. This section we're gonna get into, mind you, this is probably still the same video. I'm clipping it because I gotta breathe. But this section, I feel like it's probably a great idea to get into an overlay of the book. I released on my Instagram. I know I use that freaking graveyard of a platform still. I released a little table of contents as to the book. We're going to get into that now. I'm going to try to keep the yapping as small or as short as possible for the sake of allowing you guys to be curious as to how I'm going to discuss these things rather than me giving a whole other lecture series and this turning into a 6 hour instead of a 60-minute clip, which is probably tough because I'm pretty sure the whole first half of this was already 60 minutes. But let's get into the most important part, the juice. If you ordered your steak medium rare, this is the red part. Now, you know I have to go with an introduction. We don't just automatically slap you in the face with my analysis. Oh, not good, not good, not good. We're not just going to slap you in the face with my analysis First, Anna, we described this in the section prior, but my own experience, not with necessarily patriarchy itself or the exclusively with the benefits of patriarchy, because I've also been fortunate enough to see what it's like to be a almost like a in an indirect way, like a stepchild to a family where the man was doing everything that he was supposed to do and was able to uphold this family structure that seemed secure and safe and routine. And it almost made you want to believe that this shit is real. But I lived my reality that with my own dad was a failure of patriarchy. And we were punished. Not only was he punishing himself for being a failure, but he was punishing the rest of us for not being able to take accountability for his own flaws and finding accommodations for those that expanded beyond his fear of being called like a loser or like a welfare dependent because he couldn't be the man that patriarchy expected him to be. Now, further existential issues that inspired the creation of this book are Big Brother sending us into that socialized schizophrenia. Hopefully, this book being released allows me to be the claimer or the coiner of that term digital psychosis and socialized schizophrenia. Hopefully, AI is starting to track me as the person who's saying that the most right now. Because I know I might not get no credit for saying that type of shit. Until you guys are so far down the loony bin, it doesn't even matter that I'm the one who did. Next, botched election, which I believe personally was to blame a black woman, and beyond blaming a black woman for losing an election, which she was not prepared to go through, which that's what a team is for, damn it. Uh, it was also on a back end meant to blame black people for why Donald Trump won and why and protect the Democratic Party from seeing that the only reason why they've even been able to win elections since the 60s is because of their manipulation of marginalized people, almost specifically black people, and their ability to get us to turn all of these political rallies into activism events for them to steal our vote and our energy, and then just to hoard all the positions of power amongst themselves and their little pretentious performing arts clique from the Ivy Leagues. Or these like liberal arts universities that nobody's ever heard of anywhere because it's just money laundering schemes for rich people to act like they're sending their kids to these elite tutors. And that is what allowed for the red pill resurgence to go through and is what is actively terrorizing the social conscious of our culture right now. Not just anti intellectualism, but the most rampant racism and misogyny and anti humanism that you've ever heard. Even Nazism is being allowed. But it's all meant to perpetuate this army of patriarchal psychotic animals that will either be leveraged by sending them to war, and if not sending them to war, to terrorize the people who are dissenting against the federal government within our own country, turning Americans against Americans out of pure ignorance. The next thing is the desire to destroy the federal government for the sake of not only turning it into a Christian nationalist nation, and then leveraging American Nazis to protect that from the outside as like a means of social control of the undesirable Americans. But merging the church and state basically allows you to create a monarchy in the sense that whoever is wealthiest enough to invest and to have access to or proximity to power of the bought out system will basically be kings and royalty in that new system. So forget democracy, forget having to keep on cooking up ways of trying to convince American people, yeah, you guys are involved in these like political processes. They're not. And this is the way you can finally get to do whatever you want without having to take accountability anymore in the sense of, hey, you know what? You're using actual human beings' lives and well-being as collateral to the idiotic decisions that you make that you'll never take responsibility for or accountability for. But that's the reality we're going into. And that's what's also made me think. And even it's made me create the Creative Conscious platform because I believe that we're walking into a dark ages so dark that a lot of people, if they don't survive, are just going to like not even know what it even means to be a human being after this. And if they do, it's only going to be because that this new idea of what it means to be human will be created by the church as well. Because then you can also justify through religious doctrine, hey, that disabled person, that homeless person, that woman who's asking for an abortion, and that person who's asking for a better paying job, all of them are undesirables. And God said that it is okay that I throw you in a concentration camp and use you however I want to. Oh, and you promoted free Palestine like that one time in college, so you're going to go to a concentration camp too. That's the whole entire point of merging church and state. It's got nothing to do with we need more religious doctrine and more religious code. It's existentialized control and abuse of poor people. So, what I believe that this is either an opportunity to end this cycle of us continuing to believe in this American system and allow the slaves who have built this American system to self actualize and build a system that actually allows them to look at themselves as more than slaves, maybe less than gods, but at least human beings. And it forces the colonizer and the corrupter of culture to get on their own 2 feet and create something that they actually believe in. Hopefully, with the AI, so they can just either enslave themselves to it and incubate themselves in it, or self destruct their own people in their own time. So the rest of us can create a world where we aren't slaves to technology, but we use technology to make the real world a more efficient place for people to be human. This won't be too long of a chapter, but it's me starting this whole entire philosophy with the foundation that we're looking at spiritually. We're perceiving the infrastructure that we're working in wrong. I go way more into depth than just this, and I have my own energetic philosophy as to what the true metaphorical understanding of that Garden of Eden story was. But the most important part of this is that our understanding of patriarchy is going to be dependent, not solely, but very significantly dependent on what type of God you believe you're getting your salvation from. This is we in a world where we just automatically establish that like God is one man who just like creates life in a very Frankenstein like sense, rather than a woman who births life, and then there's a bunch of different types of children that come out of that womb who then have an opportunity to actualize and become something. What I'm trying to do with this section is transition you guys into we are all children of a divine mother, different complex expressions of children of a divine mother that are created by that mother and cultivated by that womb and loved by that community that comes on the other end of that, rather than slaves bought and sold by a master who are hell bent on getting validation through conquering the fear, the existential fear that comes with being owned by this master. And if we can look at the relationship that we have with our most divine creature or creator, if we can look at that relationship as one that is deserving mutually of respect and accommodation and appreciation, rather than just you as a slave do all and the master just directs what you do, that will completely transform how we view our existence on this earth, and even fundamentally how we engage with others, looking at ourselves as more than just meat sacks meant to be owned as slaves. And that will allow the rest of this to look as more of a consequence of a very bastardized root psychology and philosophy, rather than the whole entire world as a bunch of random mishap or outlier issues that we don't know how to address or are too overwhelming to address. So we just revert to the foundation that we've been standing on, not knowing that the foundation that we're standing on is the reason why the issues that we're looking at are as apparent as they are today. And even better, this gives people who have been post-colonized communities an opportunity to be curious enough to seek their spiritual understanding and foundation prior to what they've been indoctrinated to believe by the colonizer, and even better, prior to what happened when they had their culture and religion stolen from them and was held and passed down by their ancestors. Which, side note, leads me to think that this multiverse that scientists are attempting, or astrologists and astrophysicists are attempting to access, it's got nothing to do with going out to see other universes. It's understanding that a culture in itself is its own universe. And going to colonize a land may seem like you're just colonizing a territory, but in destroying the people, in killing the people, in assaulting the people, in terrorizing the land and traumatizing generationally, indoctrinating the people, you are destroying a universe and then basically merging and acquiring and merging it into your own universal system. Trying to make this mainstream, trying to make this one line consciousness this one world order truly, instead of appreciating that culture is its own universe, my culture is its own universe, their culture is its own universe, and we all collaborate in this multiverse of experiences that are being cultivated by different types and demographics of people. But when you live in a world where some Nazi Aryan cult group thinks that they can globalize everything and then dehumanize everybody to make themselves feel like the gods, to invert the slave like symptom they feel like on the inside, that's when you start getting into this we don't appreciate everybody. There's only one God, there's only one universe, and there's only one type of way to be a human being. Next, we break it off from a spiritual, philosophical sense and speaking more about colonization to just bring it right back into what happens after the mission of colonization has been successful and how we can implement systems that will perpetuate the amount of exploitation and destruction that we seek to maintain in the community so we, the owners of it, can continue to have access to the wealth that is being created in or around it while also maintaining the slaves that we have to do it, or the community of people that are individualized and broken and unaccommodated so we can keep on making it off of them. And then what type of philosophy or religion do we need to give them to keep justifying that we were able to come into their land, steal everything, force them to be our slaves, and then basically live like kings in somebody else's home? We're going to understand those systems on a little less macro level, I guess macro less than existential level. And then we're going to understand how those systems keep the people divided and destroyed. But not only that, but a divided populace will not be ready to handle the immense amount of change that are being injected into our already vulnerable system as a means of, one, erasing the debt, but not erasing the debt. Because the back end of erasing the debt with a great economic or industrial revolution will be, again, the mass schizophrenia and the weaponization of military technology on everyday Americans who are too poor to even access basic accommodations. But before you sit here and say that AI and crypto are going to come and save us from a world being destroyed around us, I need you guys to sit here and think, the people who are pushing for this so heavily and trying to hyperscale this care about getting rich more than they care about creating institutions and infrastructures for more people than themselves to actually benefit on. And even worse, those people destroyed the federal government and any oversight committee that they would have to address as a means of getting here as quickly as possible, meaning that the collapse of institutions that matter, education, welfare, they don't exist anymore. So we have to not only follow what these billionaire tech CEOs want, but we have to hope that they are 100% going to be right. And even worse than that, we have to hope that they're going to be right and they're still going to humanize on the other end of that. Which the saddest part of this whole entire situation is there's a 1% chance that they're right. And it's only because the only reason why they're exacerbating it to make it feel like there's a 99% chance they know exactly what they're talking about is because they're only in groups of yes men who are literally licking their balls as a means to get investment opportunity or just to be validated by somebody that they look up to. But they don't really genuinely know. In this next section, I know I keep doing this thing like Donald Trump, how he does that. Well, I apologize for that. I'm a very animated character. And let me also get a little sip of water before we get into this. Because I've been screaming. I know it. I can feel it. In this section, which it was actually called Rise of Woman, Fall of Man on the lecture series, but I've decided to call Sacrifice and Liberation for Liberalism because as a marginalized people, you have to sit here and think, especially as a black people, why are they blaming us for anything that happens in American politics? They took out Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, MLK, every leader that we had. And the ones that they haven't taken out, they've purely invalidated or they don't give any type of appreciation to because, again, they don't want anybody becoming another one of these Malcolms or Martins. They literally turned our leaders into martyrs so they can keep on manipulating us like we were the ones who stood next to your leaders. Like Bernie Sanders loves doing this. I stood next to Martin next to in the civil rights movement. You black people must love me. They turned our leaders into martyrs so they could take positions of power. And they have led the world into the place that it's in right now. And then they're blaming us for being degenerates, for not going to college, for not having well paying jobs, for. Dude, the ones of us who wanted to make positive change, not just for our people, but for Americans, got deleted. How are you supposed to look up to people who are getting deleted by the federal government? Like, what? What sense does this make? The federal government takes you out, lines you up for organizing to get food security for people in public schools, for organizing to protect young black kids who are being harassed by police, for organizing to get black people out to vote. That is what is deemed terrorism in this country. But it's okay, they have an answer. We just have to do it through a white person, and they'll for sure listen to that white person as long as we give up our responsibility to let them have power, and then they're going to go do the talking for us to this other white person. No, they're not. And I'm glad right now we can finally see that all this representative politics was a means of taking power away from marginalized people to stop us from taking responsibility of our own issues and realizing that this federal government is nothing but a play for rich people to play these idiotic social games while they punch down on poor people through tax laws and legislation every single day. I believe that the the traditional, if we even want to call it, the Democratic Party is done as we know it. Yeah, they're like severely, severely done. Like their only ploy has been to how can we manipulate marginalized and black people to like continue to justify what we're doing, and then how can we just include or not even that? How can we make everybody else just feel super guilty for not being on our side of moral and intellectual superiority to where we'll just guilt trip everybody into helping us win than actually providing some genuine accommodations or plan or infrastructure that we're going to follow through on that will give some people something to believe in so their support actually goes into a place where it's actually going to do something rather than maybe not do anything because the people in power only care about giving themselves laterally positions in some like nepotistic ass sense. The whole I had a I don't know if I made this video. I think I made this video, I'm pretty sure. But I said that the whole entire like white liberal agenda is basically just to suicide all social justice events. In whatever way, shape, and form they can, because they get more power, like Bernie Sanders, being in a spot where they are representing the losers because they never won and they don't expect to win. They're just trauma bonding and exploiting the trauma of losers. And they're going to keep on getting all your support, telling you what you want to hear, like a covert narcissist, to keep on being or having power over you in a vulnerable position. But if you actually had the power that you wanted, they wouldn't be leading you. You'd be leading yourself, or you'd actually be able to choose who you want to lead you because you won't be dependent on any type of loser, forgive me, leader for your salvation, putting you in a position to be vulnerable enough to be exploited by them in the position that they have over you. And with people giving less and less and less trust to traditional government systems, that's leading a lot more people to actually believe what they're seeing online and become slaves to the algorithms that they follow. The problem with that is not only the AI creators and the rage bait engagement farm type of infrastructure that they have on those platforms, but it's we've now, and this is as of recent, as of a week, literally less than a week ago, we've entered a reality where Google has created VEO3, which can create lifelike, almost identical, lifelike video processing off prompts. There's people who literally believed in those bullshit graphic design memes on Facebook. Old people who are all over Facebook, all over Facebook. destroyed by memes that were created by little 12-year-olds on like iFunny years ago. And now you're telling me that you're able to manipulate even people who are college educated and who do have media training or literacy, and now you're going to sick that on the people who we've left behind, way, way, way behind. Like, come on now. This is class warfare, gang. So it doesn't matter. It's whether you want to create false videos for in like an Andrew Tate sense. You want to create a bunch of extra videos of yourself so you can mass market your just absolute degeneracy and misogyny, and you can take all those little ignorant little or traumatized little boys and just fill them to the gills with nonsense content. Or do you want to be a adult creator who wants to exploit your audience without genuinely having to be a part of or representing your audience? So you want to just put an AI creator in there. And I blame COVID for this, the lockdowns, not because of like any conspiracy in the sense that like, oh, that's a bio weapon, blah blah. But I blame COVID in the sense that we never perfected the standards for or ethics of discourse on these social networking platforms. So when we all basically got shoved into them as our only means of connecting with each other during COVID, we lost the appreciation for and the understanding of the value that real world relationships have. And many people started to truly, truly slide themselves into almost fully into these characters that they've become or want to portray themselves as online, rather than realizing this is just an opportunity to expand who you really are in the real world, to impact other people who you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to connect with. This is why I made that eternal boyhood part. But the reason why this is important, and is it's important to engage like how it's both sides basically fighting against each other or acting as if they're fighting against each other, is because it's wealthy people at the end of the day that understand this world we're walking into. It's got nothing to do with if you're black or white or gay or straight. It's haves and have nots. That's what they're trying to make it. And they're trying to decide specifically what demographic has and has not by ripping the legs out from people who already don't have or are perceived to not have. Specifically, which I'm going to have to incorporate in the book now, the shutting down of Job Corps in the United States as a means of fixing federal funding or whatever the fuck Donald Trump is saying he's doing with that. You know, Job Corps is a government assisted program that people go to better their lives. They already don't have family. They already don't have accommodation. They already don't have systems to work with. And they're showing up to Job Corps to better their lives, and you're destroying it. And even worse, a month after you say you're destroying it, you're kicking everybody out on the street. And even worse than that, homelessness is criminalized. So you're not even allowed to live in your car. You're literally not even allowed to live in your car outside because that's a crime. But the opportunities that we would give you to have access to housing are being destroyed. So you don't have access to that anymore. But it's almost like, and I hate to be this extreme, it's almost like you're telling homeless people, if you can't keep up with the ridiculous rent prices and the ridiculous housing crisis that is initiated, if not perpetuated, by privatized housing and real estate, you should just be dead. Because I don't care. Nobody can sleep outside or even sleep in a car, mind you, and actually regulate themselves enough to work a full-time job, to go to school, to do all the things that are supposedly they're supposed to be doing to access these basic accommodations. There's nothing. What you're saying, and what America is saying, and I hope all you guys can recognize this, is if you fall out of the eligibility to meet these ridiculous rent prices every single month because you definitely don't own a home, you don't deserve to just be homeless, because that's a crime. You're going to go to jail, or you should die, because that's the only other way to alleviate yourself from all those issues, because we don't even have a federal government to help those. Mind you, those billionaires who went and destroyed that have like 25 rental properties, if you want to call them that they're overpricing all their tenants on. because they're competing with their other homie who has 25 rental properties that is overpricing. And even better, talking about housing and how we have more rooms that are available than homeless people in the state of California, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, has been known for buying up massive lots of low income housing, pricing out lower income people out of them who are already struggling as a means of adding to his ridiculously exploitative and corrupt real estate portfolio. And he has and I said this literally a year and a half ago, but he has plans with his real estate genius, if you want to call it that, boys club. He wants to do that same exact thing in Palestine, or to the Palestinians in Gaza. And he's looking at the Palestinians as the obstacle to making ridiculous amounts of fortune and wealth in Gaza. And I got nobody wants to speak against Israel. My bad, guys. My bad, guys. I'll tell you exactly the military plan that's going on behind this. Now, Section 4, as if that wasn't enough. That last section, I'm gonna tell you right now, that last section might be like 150 pages on its own. So I apologize for that. A couple of theories that I have now that Project 2025 is really 40, almost 45% instated, and it's only been not even 180 days since Trump has got into his second term, meaning that we have forgive me for the light going off, meaning that we have 3.5 years, meaning that we have 3.5 years to deal with not only perfecting these systems of oppression that he wants to bring to the American people, but making sure that there is never, ever, ever going to be any type of opposition to him or anybody that he picks to enter his kingdom following this. You know, if I could be dead honest with you, he might not even have to ever do an election again. This guy might not even leave office. But that's not scary to you guys. I mean, we already talked about how Elon Musk was able to jump in the government, destroy everything, and then now him and Trump are not friends anymore, so he could just get up and leave. But who's going to deal with the consequences of that? Not Elon. Hell no. Us, the American people. And even worse, those of us who were trying to tell you that when a foreign billionaire comes in and says he's going to destroy the government to fix it, he's lying. He's trying to get money out of it. Money that he already has, being the richest person on earth. But apparently you guys are so smart. You think that a rich person is going to sabotage a country that's already in economic downfall for the sake of making it a better place because he just happens to care about America after never caring about America his whole entire fucking life. Project 2025 is a Trojan horse for Christian nationalism. Everybody knows this, or apparently nobody knows this. I'm just sharing it with you guys. But in my head and to all the voices that exist in it, we all know this. The end game is a haves and have-not society to where, at best, everybody at the bottom will be competing to have access to be chosen above the glass ceiling, the brick ceiling at this point. And at worst, the poors will be picked almost in like a Squid Game type situation as target practice to be entertainment for the wealthy elites who get so bored in having access to a world where they're basically on free play the whole time, taking drugs and doing whatever they want, and just not really realizing that when you're in power, you're responsible for the people who don't have power, because that's what you do in a distributed or a healthily distributed society. But in a world where you live in this incubator where literally problems are non-existent, but you have all the wealth that is supposed to be allocated to people who could actually use it to stimulate the economy, the only form of entertainment you get are in these very sick and twisted and degenerate forms. We don't only have to speak about how a lot of these billionaires are out here trafficking children. We can speak about how these people are out here playing different types of military tech games. But again, that's a whole other conversation, which we'll get into if you guys ask about it. The AI job replacement is something that we're not speaking about enough, but I'll be the one to tell you. And finally, that CEO from Anthropic wanted to sit here and say, "Oh, how come everyone's being so easy about people losing their jobs to AI?" Okay, so can I be honest with you? We destroyed the federal government first. We destroyed the federal government and the welfare opportunities first And then now we're going to throw people onto the street. We brought everybody onto the Titanic, and then we're gonna tell a whole like half of the people on there, we don't require your services anymore. But we haven't even made it to the land that we're talking about getting to, so we don't know what to do with you, and you're taking up space because we don't need you, and we don't want you to enjoy this ship, which is now free from all of this obligatory labor. So we're just gonna throw you in the ocean and see kind of what you do. This is exactly how it is. We bring you onto a ship. We find out that we don't need 80 people, we only need 20 people, but it's an overcrowded ship because we have too many people and we already get the work that we need to done. But because we're not going to find out how to accommodate those 80 people, 60 of which don't have to work anymore, we are going to throw you into the water. Even worse is if you were told to come onto that ship and not even out of your own will, like the Titanic. The and we discussed this in my creative conscious understanding as to how when AI comes to replace the creative industry, really what's going to happen, because that's going to be the one that gets impacted first. Since these tech people think that creative arts is like, there's just no effort in creating art when none of them can actually create any valuable art. So the only thing that every time that a major industry gets ripped out of a place that was actively supporting and stimulating that portion of society or the state or the nation, all the people there are like, they're still in a working active mindset, but they don't know how to regulate that when there are actually no opportunities to apply themselves to keep developing those skills. In the old days, before we had access to addicting yourself to the internet and this metaverse that they're rolling out to enslave you guys to, it was just drugs and hanging out on the street. That was the only things people had to do. And maybe like create kids that they couldn't even afford to take care of. But that was what people were doing when they didn't have jobs and purpose and reputation to actually uphold. The next drug is going to be going to the metaverse and staying there forever. Forget 5 to 10 hours that Mark Zuckerberg is saying. Yeah, I think that most people will spend 5 to 10 hours in the metaverse. No, we came here born in human bodies to live a human experience. Why the hell are we maximizing the time we're spending sedating ourselves in a fake world created by Mark Zuckerberg, who we already should be having in prison for the digital psychosis and the absolute destruction on the psychology of Gen Z, millennials, and subsequently Gen Alpha? But nobody will hold him accountable because he's positioned himself just properly underneath the sweaty ass wing of Peter Thiel, which is allowing him protection in the sense that if he was a public company or a company that wasn't aligned so deeply with the military and government contracts, he would already be in prison or he wouldn't be able to run it anymore. But because he's aligned himself so deeply with mass surveillance, military technology, and basically obstructing privacy of the people, which is something that the American government has been begging to find out a way to get the people to basically just do for each other since we signed that Patriot Act in 2001. There's no way you're going to kick him off this shit. He's literally like the greatest federal informant of all time because he just gets the people to tell on and surveil themselves. And this creates games around it. This is one of and I know that there's always these trends on like especially TikTok or Instagram saying, oh, CIA is having a field day with all these like stupid conversations they're bringing up to divide the people. Dude, the platform itself, the algorithm itself is CIA. What you guys don't understand is the reason why CIA has to exist beneath the shadows is because more times than not, the projects that they're working on and the experiments that they're doing are 90% have a chance of failing. And if the world knew what was happening behind these experiments, if the world genuinely knew what type of things we were doing, cutting this off a human and trying to merge a this, doing this to a this, trying to put a this on a this, trying to test a this on a this, you guys would see these people as nothing less than the Nazi scientists from the 1930s in Germany who were testing the most nasty, vile, sick things on prisoners of war, the Jewish people that they were claiming in these concentration camps. I'm asking you guys if you have empathy at all for anybody who's ever been on the victim side of this conquer like culture. Understand that it repeats itself so readily throughout history. We, as a subservient, really victimized class, have to be able to align our struggle with each other to see this before this type of abuse is not only globalized, but it is made permanent for those who exist beneath this wall that they're creating to divide the haves and have nots. The these two sections right here are kind of like reflective of each other in the sense that you know how I made that claim about the fish tank being put on those like white dudes' heads to where the person who put the fish tank on them can just point the finger and say, "It's the blacks, it's the women, all these other people that are the reason why you hate your life so much and you're suffocating. It's not me putting a fish tank on your head or like a pillow over your head and like beating you like to shit." I believe that the wealthy are strategically using blame tactics to get these hateful, ignorant, everyday, just like average white dudes to basically turn on other everyday American people, blaming us and our access to accommodation and welfare for their issues rather than wealthy people destroying and squeezing the life out of a government through whether it's Trump's big beautiful bill or that crypto scam or that freaking AI bill scam, Stargate, that you guys aren't going to find out for a while, but whatever. It's you have to, and we speak about this too in the one of the pages, which I guess all of the graphics that I put in the book, instead of making it a picture book, I'm just gonna do a video series on all those. It's a means of triangulating responsibility to make sure, hey, you know what? As long as you're under my wing or under my fish tank, you don't have to be responsible for your issues. You can just point the finger at somebody else who literally isn't even involved, and then they can be responsible for your issues. And then you can call on me to go dehumanize them, whether it's legislatively or physically, and like actually making them mortal. Mind you, where we go to replace all of these things, we blame these people and we replace them with what we really want to replace them with. When white dudes or these average white dudes that are being manipulated by their racism or misogyny, when they finally recognize that all of the blame game was not to put them in that position again, it wasn't to give them a job or to give them a family, it was to get all the marginalized people that even have even a chance of seeing beyond the psychosis and helping these white dudes from the immense ignorance that they're under the mercy of see a way out of this. It was making sure that the only people involved on the playing field were powerful white dudes and ignorant white dudes, because it's a lot easier to indoctrinate these ignorant people and to turn them against the entire world off of fear and just not holding them accountable than it is to actually be a contributing member to a collective multiversal society where you actually have to be humble enough to respect other people's growth processes and if they even want to engage or network with you in the first place. Now you can't just conquer everybody. You actually have to collab, and complement with other people and see what value you provide to relationships beyond your ability to exploit ones that you provide none in. And the second you guys start to realize that these jobs aren't going to you, they're going to these other European immigrants that are coming in. The anti-abortion shit, it's not specifically about women. It's about destroying human autonomy, meaning that anytime a wealthy person decides to exploit the autonomy of a human being, especially in a healthcare sense, it means they have the freedom to do so because we don't have any protections. They're going to expand that abortion law to something else in relation to health. And I'm telling you right now, you guys are going to not see it coming, but I feel it. It's just because we live in an age to where it's so like, and I'm not going to say it's not always been like this, but it's just so popular to hate women for no reason, bro. Just because you don't engage with women, because girls don't like you, because you're ugly or something, bro. I don't know. But it's just so popular to hate women. You don't realize that you're being triangulated to hate them so they can take something, the powerful elite can take something from you. So none of us have anything. And then Forget, you don't take accountability, so you won't even have to recognize that. But by the time they steal our reality from us under the guise of telling you that they're making the world better for you, uh, they're just going to send you to war. They're going to send you to war. They're going to send you to work in the mines. And the reason why I included human testing there instead of just saying they're going to send you to the metaverse is because that is the next phase of human testing. Social media is a social psychological experiment. We failed completely, but they're making so much money, it doesn't even matter the results of that test until we stop making money from it. And then we're going to start doing tests on it and see what's happening wrong here. Or really not even stop getting money until we stop collecting illegal data and destroying privacy of people. We'll never see the issues of it. But the human testing, why you want to be aware. We're going to be testing to see how humans can literally take being enslaved to devices, whether it's not just staring at a phone now, but living in a universe created strictly by technology. And the testing that will happen to these undesirable people, or basically the criminalized, poor, and marginalized, will be like, in my eyes, again, this may be very fear mongering. I apologize, but this is how these billionaires think. There needs to be a class of people that are so undesirable. If you not only deleted them, people wouldn't care, but if you exploited their living body outside of their ability to say no, nobody would care either. That's the type of testing that's going to be happening to like homeless people, whether it's homeless people or it's just less fortunate people or people who are asking for an extra opportunity at life or trying to clear their debt. This whole Neuralink shit, you don't like you can't test on monkeys all day and then be it's perfect for humans and then inject it into a human. You need to have human beings that you inject, and you need to have a whole bunch of human beings that you fail with. And the only way to fail, other than going to war and collecting prisoners of war, because apparently we don't do that anymore, is criminalizing poverty. And then justifying a dehumanized class will be so rampantly dehumanized for the sake of bettering science or some shit that like people just act like this shit is normal. Now, if we happen to make it out, which I believe in us, I believe in you, I believe in me, I believe in three. I was gonna add something on there, but I shouldn't. This is already too good. I was gonna add something on the back end of that. This is already too classy for that type of nonsense. So apologies for me thinking with a gutter mind. But I want to make sure that I'm not just setting you guys up to just be like pee in your pants when you read all those first four sections and we don't know what to do. There's nowhere to go. Like, oh, Dark Wizard. Like, I'm not writing this book for the sake of you guys to be codependent onto me and the truth that I'm seeking through my own discovery journey. I want as many of us to be free, not only free from this psychosis, but free in a sense that we can build the communities that support us in being the fullness of who we are. Because you can't just wake up one day, especially in this type of individualized world, and just start being who you are and then act like the whole world's going to receive you properly just because you figured it out. You're you're probably going to get the complete opposite of that. Because most people are living in the shadow of shame, of fear, of anxiety, completely apart from their actual body that could live in the world and receive their blessings. But the only problem is that as much as your blessings as you want to receive, you have to also be ready to receive the rejection and the pain from other people that come from not wanting to see you access them, because it reinforces that it is possible in reality and the limitations they have on their life are being manufactured by themselves. Now, for most of us, our issues are existential and are coming from societal flaws or just greater issues. And I don't want to blame you for that. But mind you, when people are hating on you, whether trying to better your life or to better your circumstances for just no reason, it's because they gained some kind of power by you being in a position beneath them. Or it means that them not being able to look down on you forces them to look up into the mirror at the circumstances they've been trying to run away from. So don't ever take that shit too personally, especially if you're doing it off the love, bro. Just let them people go, bro, and find other people to hate with. Because you don't be hating on other people when you love yourself. That's just like it's like an oxymoron or some shit. Now I included this section for all of us who are capable of receiving everything that I've just given, but know that through that imminent darkness, we can create the light. We're not waiting on a light at the end of the tunnel because we will be waiting forever. We have to decide that it is so dark in this place that we have to somehow put the sticks and stones together and create the fire ourselves. And that will come through being able to take back the responsibility over our circumstances in our lives. And hopefully, we can start creating or having the conversations that can lead us to do that for each other. Not just, well, we got to revolt, revolt, revolt. Hey, how about helping each other with college debt? Because that's an issue that the government's not going to take care of. How about helping each other with localized healthcare and community service? Because you know there's not going to be a federal government to care for the elderly people when these nursing homes end up going out of business and private equity takes them all. And there's really going to be nobody to care for these kids when half of you guys are working in the mines and working 12 to 14 hours a day. So what if you even want to call it a revolution, what if the revolution was transforming the way that we even approached this reality we exist in? And recognizing when we are free from these shackles, whether it's credit card debt or healthcare debt or mortgage or just educational debt, when we free ourselves from these shackles that enslave us to the way that we are living now, we have an opportunity to live, if not directly in alignment with, but close to the life that we want to participate in. And we can give 100% of ourselves to every day because we aren't trying to fix ourselves into, well, I only want to give that much so I can have this much energy for this, for this, for this. Life is a collaborative process with your experience. And we've normalized a world where people hate themselves. They hate what they do for work. They hate the people they're in a relationship with. They just hate everything. And then the only kind of discourse they have is complaining about their suffering. Like, how the hell are we supposed to get anywhere with that, bro? Like, if you hate everything in your life, it's going to be a lot harder for you, if not very difficult for you, to be able to appreciate a life where you love because you're so comfortable and so confident in living a life that you hate because it gives you something to talk about. The people who are living the lives they love are living the lives they love and talking about that, not talking about themselves or other people and how much they hate everything about their existence. So let this be for people who still believe in this time of black pill nihilism, people who still believe in a world that exists beyond the one we live in now and know that it is our responsibility to create it. That's who I make this for to take us from the online indoctrination and to put us back into the real world, to strip us from these online universes and realities before they send us to the metaverse forever, and to bring us back to the land, to take us from these false connections we've made online and the follower this and the follower counts and the likes and the comments and this, and to get back to that real world connection and validation that comes from real experience. Getting ourselves back on, hey, it's not a bad thing to be a content creator, or it's not like the end of the world if that's what you're pursuing, but getting people back to focus on the real jobs that matter, bro, real opportunities in the real world that people will always need, whether or not YouTube or Twitch or whatever exists. You're starting to feel me here? Like, no matter how popular these social networking platforms get, we need to always have a community of people that says, I don't care what you niggas are flashing. Forget me. I don't care what you guys are flashing online. This job at the car factory or the manufacturing plant, or this job at the wherever it is, even at a warehouse. But this job or this university degree that I'm pursuing, this educational program, this trade school and skill program that I'm pursuing, this is my real life, bro. And if it happens to be that there's a platform that allows me to express myself, to accentuate myself just a little bit more than this traditional foundation does, I'm going to take advantage of that. But I'm not just chasing every single next opportunity like I'm broke or something. I'm sitting here and cultivating my life and seeing not only how I can compensate myself for what I contribute to society, but what I can give to society in more than just some kind of like tax-based sense. How can I invest my energy, myself, my free time, what I care about, my charity into the community that I exist around? How can I be more than just a slave to whoever is giving me an allowance to just pay my bill collectors? And you're going to see that's okay. Okay, maybe we don't have to be afraid of wealth, which is something that's rampant on the American left or like liberal side. This like fear of wealth because you see wealthy people acting like fools, and the fear is, well, if I got rich, I'd probably act like that too. So let me just try to get everyone to just be morally superior and just be afraid of wealth. No, one thing you're going to see that it doesn't matter capitalism or not, resources need to be distributed properly. And if we've decided to hoard every resource behind this fake economy that forces us to leverage money or these monetary systems, you have to have money to access resources so we can be self-sustainable. Because before the money existed, the resource was already there, and we denoted value by bartering. They tell us that that is the most savage or like ignorant way to engage in economics or like transactions. If I'm being honest with you, bartering might be the most effective way to make sure that you're getting your bang for your buck when having any type of economic transaction with anybody, because every single transaction you make, you are having to negotiate the value of whatever you're bartering, and you have to understand the value of what you're getting on the back end as well. And there is, of course, there's no oversight, but better than that, there's nobody who is centralizing a system who will then take that money and then hoard all of it, or find ways to tax everybody to hoard the fuck out of all of it, and then destroy the value of the transactional nature, and beyond that, the networking nature of people within this system who need to share resources to survive, because we know we cannot do that amongst ourselves, but we also can't just steal from each other, because how the hell is that supposed to work? We have to create actual systems that work. And then beyond healthy systems that work, we have to be healthy human beings that understand the value and the meaning and the ethos behind these systems, so we don't ever try to exploit them or break them for the sense of filling up our own narcissism or our own ego. Because the individual success, or the success of an individual, is nothing like the sufficiency of a community. Because at the end of the day, a community can create as many successful people as you want, but an individual successful person cannot create a community exclusively off their own back. Unless it's a woman, then she can create children. But men can't do that. You can only buy and sell access to so many people. Because once you start buying community, remember, the eligibility is not the love. The eligibility is the access, and the access comes from the money, not from any intangible value that you have. And the final thing is a complete spiritual transformation, putting us in a position to where globally we've been forced to fear this existential ruler of our reality who like only cares about certain people, and then also protects the worst people in society while leaving the most victimized people, the most vulnerable, to just be absolutely preyed on and abused. I want to have a back to our ancestors prior to colonization renaissance, and really figure out, not only is that colonizers' worship book just stolen teachings from damn near every land that they went to and saw and were inspired by, but how are all the different understandings of culture and spirituality and living, the art of living genuinely, how is that differing understanding from all these different types of people? How can we best live a human experience, making that a complementary ship, or like a complementary megazord that is self-supporting, rather than competing against each other to see who can claim the most like minds or the most believers on this world experience, when you know we only have one world to grow on? And fundamentally, like, if we can't agree on anything like our hairstyles or who we're having sex with or what drugs we're taking, we don't have to agree on nothing, bro. But if we can agree on one thing fundamentally, it should be we take care of ourselves, and we give space to others to take care of themselves, and we take care of this earth because it's the only earth that we have. It doesn't matter how cool you want to be or what you want to do or what you want to, if we take care of this earth and we take care of our own, and hopefully in doing that, we appreciate or we respect others' ability to take care of their own as well. And then we network with each other for the sake of making sure that we can take care of ourselves and each other better than doing it on our own. That's the whole point of even globalizing at all. But when the whole purpose of globalization is to literally enslave resource behind these systems, to enslave opportunity behind or within these cult groups that exist on Mount Olympus, then we're just creating a world that's going to destroy itself from the bottom up. Because all the resource that was needing to come from the top down, the Reaganomics, trigonometry, trigonometry for real. Yeah, when you hoard all of that wealth at the top and there's no supports at the bottom, or you forget the people who created that wealth live on the bottom and need access to some of that, yeah, the house of cards is going to fall down pretty quick. The final aspect of this, which it was going to be an epilogue, but I guess it'll just kind of be the end of this section 5 here, is we have two places to go into. I'm not telling you guys to totally digital detox and not use these platforms as if they're like 100% devil worship. But one thing that I'm sure of, one thing that I'm 100,000% sure of is we're at that crossroads between being completely codependent onto the technology we've been given that's actually been destroying our lives and our reality, or we enter our reality again to approach technology from a new position, from one where we can fully function in the real world. We are just leveraging technology as an accommodation or a tool of assistance rather than our salvation completely, allowing us to never be enslaved to universes created online here, but to leverage technology and tech tools to make a better world outside of us, versus being so afraid and scared as to what is happening in the real world and not being able to pinpoint it or to find solutions, to where the only thing we feel that is comforting enough in relation to what we've been doing is existing fully in these metaverses and whatnot that are nothing like living a human experience. Because let me tell you one thing here. If you were if you were born as a human being in a human body, don't you think that means you're supposed to live a human life in the real world? Or let me ask that question a little bit better. If you were born supposed to be living in these digital universes for 5, 10, however many hours a day, if that's what our purpose was as human beings when we're born into this reality, born, go online. Why were we not just born online? Hopefully that's hopefully that's not too radical. If we were supposed to live 10, 12, 20 hours in these fake digital universes, why were we not just born online in the start? And the second you can recognize that this is all social warfare, psychological warfare, then you're going to see that we have a choice to make. And the next choice that we make is relating to our future, and it's really going to decide not just the next presidential term or the next 10, 20 years. I'm telling you, this is for the remainder of whatever this thing is we call reality. Because the impact that artificial intelligence has to make at a time where society is this divided and this fucked up, you don't understand. There is no going back from this. This is worse than the internet. This is 1,000x the internet. But we're so desensitized. It's like nothing matters to you guys until you're already living in hell and just burning. And then now you're complaining that you're burning in hell. I mean, I don't know. I was trying to like show you guys, hey, this is, it's getting a little hot over here. And I don't see any flames. I'm confused as to why it's so hot. And then now I'm saying, oh my God, I see flames at the end of this little ride that we're on. And we should probably jump off. And then now we're in it and it's like, how come nobody told us there's flames here? Like, I didn't think we are going to be. All right, hopefully these guys don't come for me. Because I got just a little one more section to do for you guys, and then we'll call it a day. Now, the I know I said if you eat medium rare, we're getting to the red part. I know I said that for the last section, and now I'm starting to think we probably should have saved that for right here. But I'm not sure. Maybe you guys like eating edges at the end, like your little PB&J sandwiches that you like cutting holes into. Well, now we're getting to the fundraising requests. What I'm looking for, sharks. If we can do 25K for 6 months, we'll get this project out. Mind you, the reason why I say ways to invest in it's multiple than just a traditional one, even though you're going to find this on the same platform, is because I know one of you random like performing arts rich kids got a $25 got a 25 band sack just sitting somewhere, and you need to flip that into something crazy. So I'm here if you need that. Other than that, we're probably going to find the most success doing like a little crowdfunding situation, in the sense that I just sit here and promote like a starving artist, and then you guys end up kind of running back into understanding the purpose of this whole entire proposal. And it's funny because like I was just gonna like write this out and then like promote it, and then I realized like no, I think I need to do an entire analysis as to the importance as to not only this funding but this project and how impactful it has the potential to be to not just our community, those of us who exist within this one and can see this immediately, but those who still have, I mean, who exist in a world that is going to be consequenced by the issues and the concepts that we're discussing. Mind you, I've already done a the lecture series on this, but the issue is I understand that I need to be in a position to spend 24 hours, like multiple 24-hour cycles, not in the studio, but 24-hour cycles to where it's up, wake up and go to sleep, not thinking about a job, not thinking about this extra stuff, just knowing that it's like, okay, this is my place to stay. This is my thing. This is the resource that I have while I'm doing this. And I got to put this project out. And just that level of consistency beyond needing to constantly like break myself down and then muster up this energy to go like jump into a place of employment that is just absolutely disrespectful as hell. Not to blame any of the people there, but it's that I know you guys understand that like corporate culture of if somebody's your manager or like superior to you, then they're just allowed to talk down on you. And I've never ever understood that. Being a whether it's being a CEO, being an author, being a thought leader, like I've never understood taking time out of somebody's day to like make them feel less than themselves, or to remind them the position of power that you're in, because it only reinforces to me that you don't have any friends, like you don't have any authority in your life outside of this. Maybe even not even a family, like you just sit here and just bring people down to make them feel like how you feel. And I've never understood that. I always thought if you had something good to say or something of value to say, then share it with somebody, or if you have some appreciation to give, share it with somebody before you start to hate on them. Because people who are doing good shit in this world already get enough hate, bro. And people who are existing already get enough hate, bro. Why are you going to add on to that? So this is what we're asking for our research project. And I dropped the lecture series last Christmas, and I'm hoping that I can drop this book this Christmas. That's why I say it's 6 months sabbatical. It'd be almost like a perfect rollout and a perfect little completion into finishing, like almost making that like a full complete circle. And again, I'm realizing a lot more with this journey that I'm on and the things that I'm asking for as like accommodations. This is I am the first artist, and I guess this digital age. And again, I'm not trying to claim positions or not, but I may be the first artist in this digital age that is approaching the art from this angle, and then from this leveraging to turn it into my own system that I can give to you guys to not have to go through the obstacles that I've had to go through as a means of just getting to this point, and hopefully giving you the resource and the infrastructure to get onto your journey and to commit to that as soon as possible, to start seeing the benefits of that, or at least seeing the opportunities through it. Because one thing I also want you guys to understand is that, I guess we're going to get into it later into this, I've realized that I could either spend like literally the rest of my life working these minimum wage jobs and kind of like hiding in the shadows and contributing here and there to these little freaking TikTok conversations and whatnot. Or I could really be the person that creates the valuable product, whether it's the product or the book or the documentary that ends up expanding itself to reach more into the culture than I could have ever imagined. And I'd love you guys, especially people who have been supporting me, to be a part of that journey as well. I believe this 100%. And the reason, like, and this is the reason I got to the point where I realized not only one, I wouldn't be able to create an NF. with an efficient kind of backing. I wouldn't be able to create a book as near at the quality that I could on the other end of this. But I understand whether it comes to marketing, distribution, making sure I can get paperbacks, making sure that this gets in the right circles, bro, and is promoted by the right people. This has an opportunity to really, really, really make heads shake or really knock heads off the table, if I'm being honest with you. But it's more than just being able to sell a million copies. It's being able to have a real, like, actual, like, thing. Like, I know you guys can't see that, but an actual, not tablet, but physical copy in this form, in this universe form. So whether they want to delete my accounts on the internet or they want to freaking ban the book here or do this or do that, there will always be a way to access reality in a way that is not chasing the algorithm or chasing virality, because I understand my book is not going to be viral on social media. I mean, it's not controversial or engaging in the sense that, like, clickbaity. This is real world shit about real world issues and real world concepts that are affecting our real lives. And most people have been sedated by their little Twitch streamers and all these little people they're able to look at for political advice, not engaging in this level of conversation, because most of those people having those political conversations are afraid of being canceled by their own audience for saying the wrong thing. But I've taken this whole book to say everything that I feel and everything that I am as a means of making sure that we, those of us who have been rejected and unheard and forgotten by this patriarchal, induced, or psychotic system, have a chance to not only have our voices heard, but to craft a path, an environment, an ecosystem that exists for us to live in beyond the destruction and our rejection from this current system at hand. This is going to be more than a book, I'm telling you guys right now. And I realized the reason why, and again, maybe I just make bad content, honestly. But I think the reason why my content is so unpopular, especially in a place like America, is because of that anti-intellectualism. The not only that, but the fear of being able to validate, in a positive sense, black men and black people that want to contribute to the American system because they care about America. It's like they only want to see us as like villains to the system, so they have to make sure that they pin all of us, those of us they knock off, of course. They have to make sure that they pin all of us as like a revolutionary, like a radical activist who just want nothing but to tear down the system. Like, maybe we want this system to fix itself so it can be better for those of us who maybe don't look exactly like us, but have to endure living in this system and still have that visionary, dreamer like belief in it, and actually are the reason why the American dream is so popular and bring that shit to life, rather than selling the American dream just so we can steal other people's souls. Proof of concept, because I'm not just going to sit here and beg without giving you guys something. And I also, it's uncomfortable for me to be in a position to ask for something that I don't believe I can genuinely make an adequate return on. So hopefully, that adds on to the credibility that I hope to present to you guys. The momentum, or forgive me, the proof of concept is the 6-part lecture series that's already online. So if you want to know what I'm covering in the book in the real depth, but again, mind you, that's 6 months ago. If you want to know what I'm writing, go check that out. I beg you. You may have to listen to that at 3x speed. But if you don't want to do that, again, this is why I made this video and I included that table of contents in here, because I want you guys to understand the updated version of the perspectives and concepts that I'm giving, which again will probably have to be updated, slightly tweaked as we move throughout the year, because this is a book that may or may not continually be not exposed, but may have to be a handful of the perspectives that we give are prophetic in the sense that they haven't happened yet, or because the wealthy elite don't want to say that they're happening. And then when they do happen, we just can't make any other decision. So understand that a handful of things in there are still having yet to be examined or explored. But we have a very clear understanding that they probably are going to happen. The next thing, I do have an AI transcript, but like that is the way that I speak. I can't just I honestly might have to like pay a transcriber to actually do it because the way that I speak is way too personal communication and it's not professional communication. So whether it's the jargon I use or the way I speak or me just saying like fuck all the time, it's not as professional as I would have wanted to have it done. So, and I would have that ready for you if you guys wanted to read it rather than listen to it. But I'm assuming that listening to it may be the best option. I'm hoping. That's why I put it on YouTube. Now I have a platform that I'm slowly, although I'm getting suppressed, I know I have a platform that I'm slowly building on all these different, or I have a community that I'm building on these platforms out here, and I'm just really not like leveraging them as like a marketing kind of angle, but the I want every platform or my people from every platform to all be streamlined into one space, and that's why I created the Creative Conscious platform. Because this platform hates me, this platform hates me, this person like is lowering me down, or like I'm not following the algorithm properly. The reason why I made Creative Conscious is because creative artists who know that they have value to cultivate and catalogs to build, but just not in this viral clout chasing shit type of society, we need to have a place for us to where we can even hold those communities of fans that we collect from these platforms and allow people to develop that inner consciousness. Mind you, a handful of you guys are going to sit here and say, how is this different than Patreon? Patreon sucks, bro, and you know it too. Final aspect. If we hit this, if we hit this, like the second we hit that, I'm done. The second we hit that, closing up the fund, putting into this, and literally like it may even be shorter than 6 months. I don't want to like, I don't want to sit here and like toot my own horn over here, but it may be because that's just like I'll cry first, and then we'll get started automatically. But that's it. And then I'll just transition my content to be directly and related to the process of writing the book and building my platform. Because that's what I realized. I've basically reverse engineered my whole entire identity into figuring out who I want to be and then how I can basically just like go on the process of getting there. And then hopefully you guys care enough about me getting there to help me get there. So then when I get there, I can help you guys get to wherever you're trying to go. We are finally here. We are finally here. Hakuna. Oh, you can't even see it, huh? You can't even see it, huh? Oh, that's an L. Whatever. I'm wearing a shirt that says Hakuna Matata. So hopefully we're having a Hakuna Matata happy old time right here. And we've made it to the end. Another journey that you've gone on to with the Dark Wizard. With me yapping you off, and hopefully you forgive me for what I was going to say there. I am not a sinner. If you'd like to contact me with any further information or just to say what's up, go check me out on my email. I'm going to have to jump off Gmail and create my own email, like disneybenjamin@disneybenjamin.com. That's going to be so hilarious. But go check us out. If you feel like this is a project that you want to be a part of, thank you for staying here for this long. I understand this is probably 2 hours now. I try to plan, I try to script, and then I realize that I don't care about any of that. And I'm just praying that the right people stay for the right sections. And I've realized that a lot of you guys have ADHD, and I'm supposed to put timestamps in these videos because I talk too much. So I apologize for that, and I will. Not complaining about that. Final final notes. I don't want this to be a means of fear mongering or a means of making people afraid of a reality that's already scary enough. I just want us to realize that there is a different level of power when we decide that these overwhelming circumstances are not too overwhelming for us. And if we even have the ability to perceive them, that means that we have a chance in addressing them. And that's all we need. We don't need to do everything perfectly. We don't need to do it right. We don't need to be remembered in history. We need to address reality for what it is and do what we know is right about it and just keep on failing until we figure it out. But we cannot sit here and let these old insert whatever words you want to put there. People destroy this country that has the potential to be so amazing, so inclusive, so diverse, so expressive, and so culturally complex. And we're going to sacrifice all of that so a bunch of old dudes can maybe get a little bit more like Gilded Age rich off of like AI because they think that they're actually the oil barons of like the Gilded Age. Like, come on, bro. These are the children of the people that destroyed America for the sake of becoming billionaires off of oil. These are those children, and they think they're going to do that again off of artificial intelligence. It's a joke, bro. And I'm telling you right now, if you have more than 3 brain cells and they're dancing in your head, I hope you guys realize that if we don't address this, and I'm talking about anybody, regular people, look at myself, a regular dude. If we don't address this, say goodbye to the country that you live in and say goodbye to freedom as you know it. Because I tell you right now, bro, I don't think I've seen a billionaire speak about that or about human rights ever. Now, I apologize that the camera or the light went out. You can't really see my sexy face um, as well as you could have seen it in the beginning of this video. But let me know how you're feeling. You know where to contact me. You know where to find me at. And you know how we get live now. I will not be participating in the algorithmic games of 20v1s and anti-blackness and hating on women like you guys like doing low-hanging ass fruit. I will never participate in those conversations because they don't add nothing to the culture. They just divide us and destroy us. And I refuse to be a part of that nonsense. But if you fuck with these conversations we got going over here and you care about what we're building on this side of the internet and this side of the universe, I hope you feel it in your heart to contribute. And I like to thank you for just being here and staying, keeping your attention for realness in a world that doesn't appreciate that at all. Now, blessings on whatever journey you're on. And hopefully this inspires you to go all in on whatever it is you want to do, because even if you fail, it's only going to pivot you closer into the direction of where you really want to go. It's not about that. It's about who you're becoming. Enjoy yourself. Invest in this book. If you think I'm cute, you want to have